Have you ever seen a gleaming motorcycle on the street and thought, that one's for me? Only for the mechanic to list half a dozen catastrophic repairs? Well, today we bring you the 7 bikes most likely to cost you more in upkeep than they bring you happiness. If you love motorcycles as much as we do, don't forget to support us with a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. This video is especially aimed at anyone considering the purchase of a used motorcycle or a pre-2025 model, whether to take advantage of lower prices or to find a specific bike. Before you dive into the search, it's essential to research the model you're interested in thoroughly. Hold onto your helmet and tighten your seatbelt, because each of these beauties has a trick up its sleeve. Components that fail when you least expect it, endless maintenance, and spare parts that are hard to find. Let's begin. Africa Twin, 2022 to 2025. The CRF1300L uses a 1,084 cubic centimeters aluminum block with liquid cooling and a unicam head, optimized for longevity and resistance to low-grade fuel, producing 102 horsepower and 112 Nm at 5,500 RPM. It can be fitted with Honda's DCT automatic transmission, eliminating the manual clutch and offering both automatic and manual mode, adding only 10 kilograms to the overall weight. Its frame is a double-beam aluminum design that strikes a good balance between rigidity and lightness, and to show a suspension 45 mm adjustable fork and linkage rear shock guarantees comfort and control. Braking is handled by twin 310 mm discs up front with radial calipers and a single 256 mm rear disc, all backed by curve-sensitive ABS. The 6.5 TFT dash with Apple CarPlay/Android Auto connectivity displays gear, maps, power modes, and cornering ABS. However, it has suffered ghost touch and cold start touch failures, prompting Honda to extend the display's warranty to 10 years. Faults presented. FICU software error. In 2024, Honda issued a recall for 2022-2025 units due to a programming error in the fuel injection ECU inherited from another model. It can miscalculate traction control when wheelie control is activated, causing power cuts or abrupt surges and increased fall risk. About 4,205 units in the US are affected, and Honda halted sales until the software update is applied. DCT and electrical instabilities. Some owners report that in DCT mode, the automatic gearbox can slip or shift harshly at low speed, especially if the battery is weak, since the system is sensitive to voltage drops. Repeated Android Auto and Bluetooth disconnections have also been reported, along with random engine shutdowns linked to TFT firmware errors. Initial corrosion and maintenance. Early models showed a tendency for the rear spokes to corrode, a problem Honda addressed in later production runs. Accessing the valve cover requires removing the tank, bodywork, and some electronics, making valve checks a long and costly service. The Africa Twin 1100 combines a reliable, versatile engine with very complete on-road and off-road equipment. But owners must watch for FICU updates, battery condition on DCT models, and the maintenance costs of its sophisticated electronics and suspension. For long trips, plan software updates and TFT checks at the dealer, and budget properly for valve adjustments. Hyosung GV250 Aquila. The Hyosung GV250 Aquila is a 249 cubic centimeters cruiser notable for its low and long styling and high-revving V-twin, designed to offer an accessible experience to novice riders without sacrificing classic looks and decent performance. However, various users and mechanics have reported ignition, carburation, and even neutral finding issues, which can impact its long-term reliability. It uses a 249 cubic centimeters air/oil-cooled DOHC V-twin with 4 valves per cylinder, producing 28.5 horsepower at 9,200 RPM and reaching a top speed near 135 km per hour. Fueling is via Mikuni carburetor, older models, or EFI, with a 5-speed gearbox and wet clutch. The frame is a steel perimeter cradle for simultaneous rigidity and lightness. Front suspension is 41 mm conventional forks. Rear is dual shocks with preload adjustment. Braking uses a single 300mm front disc with dual piston caliper and a rear drum, with ABS in some markets. At 176 kilograms wet and a 700mm seat height, the GV250 Aquila is manageable for medium and shorter riders. Its 14-liter tank offers about 200 kilometers of range in mixed riding, ideal for urban commuting and short trips. Main mechanical faults. Power drop between 2,000 to 5,000 RPM. Several owners report bogging or power loss in that range, attributed to carburetor misadjustment or a faulty needle valve in the float bowl. Replacing the needle and adjusting the float often restores a smoother response. CDI and ignition circuit problems. The CDI's pulse signal comes from a crankcase coil. Voltage drops or poor kickstand switch/cabling connections can cause spark loss and intermittent cutouts. Side stand switch can also cut power to the CDI, stalling the engine while riding. Difficulty finding neutral. In warm weather or after extended riding, the gearbox closes up and riders struggle to find neutral. Adjusting the clutch cable and lubricating selectors usually helps, but the shift drum design exacerbates the symptom. Long-term reliability. While some have ridden thousands of kilometers without major failures, others report seized engines around 6,500 kilometers, possibly due to manufacturing defects or overly tight tolerances. The Hyosung GV250 Aquila is attractive for budget-minded cruiser enthusiasts with adequate daily performance. However, if you consider one, thoroughly inspect the carburetor or EFI, ensure the CDI and stand switch work correctly, and have the dealer check the gearbox for neutral finding issues. With rigorous maintenance and updates to critical components, it can become a reliable companion for urban rides and weekend escapes. Honda CBR1300 SP. The Fireblade SP uses a 998 cubic centimeters liquid-cooled DOHC inline, 4 with 4 valves per cylinder, producing 214.6 horsepower at 14,500 RPM and 113 Nm at 12,000 RPM thanks to a flat crank and RC213 VS derived heads. Fueling is via PGM-DCFI dual-stage injection with 48mm throttle bodies, optimized for instantaneous response and linear power throughout the rev range. Its twin-spar aluminum frame balances rigidity and lightness for direct steering input. Up front is a 43mm Showa big piston fork with HMAS cartridge, fully adjustable in preload, compression, and rebound. The rear uses an Öhlins TTX36 shock. Throttle-by-wire works with Honda selectable torque control, offering multiple power maps and traction control levels. Braking includes gyro-assisted ABS and electronic distribution, with dual 330mm front discs and radial calipers, plus a 240mm rear disc, ensuring powerful, safe stops. Main reported mechanical faults. False neutrals in gearbox. Many owners experience false neutrals, especially shifting from second to third, where the lever fails to engage and slips in a neutral, forcing downshifts or a stop to re-engage the gear. On track, imprecise engagement has led to frequent lever and stop adjustments, without fully eliminating the issue. Quickshifter imprecision. Although the bidirectional quickshifter adds sportiness and speed, some users report missed upshifts that leave the bike in neutral, especially on mid-range exits from corners, causing scares and loss of confidence. ECU software updates or sensor sensitivity tweaks can help, but don't always resolve it completely. Intrusive ABS in aggressive riding. In sport modes, the ABS can intervene too early under lean or braking in a turn, cutting rear wheel power and pushing the rider off the ideal line. That stems from conservative maps designed for mixed use, which clash with track pace demands. Öhlins TTX36 shock recall. 2014 and 2015 SP models with the Öhlins TTX36 shock were recalled because the piston nut may have been under-torqued, risking loosening that degrades suspension performance and rider safety. The CBR1000 RRSP remains a superbike benchmark for its power, agility, and MotoGP-inspired tech, but has reliability challenges in its drivetrain and electronics. To minimize risk, regularly check the gearbox and quick-shifter adjustment, test ABS behavior in different modes, and ensure any affected Öhlins shock has been recalled and repaired. With these precautions, the Fireblade SP can continue delivering an extraordinary ride without unpleasant surprises. Harley-Davidson Touring Series. The Harley-Davidson Touring Series includes icons like the Street Glide, Road King Special, Ultra Limited, and exclusive CVO models designed to eat up miles in comfort and style. All use the robust Milwaukee 8 117 V-twin, delivering 130 ft-lb of torque at 3,250 RPM and around 105 horsepower at 4,600 RPM, balancing brutal thrust with smoothness. Yet in recent years, they've faced multiple safety recalls for hydraulic clutch issues, brake system faults, and electrical short circuits, which we'll review shortly. The 117 CI Milwaukee 8 uses a single overhead cam and traditional rockers, optimized with internal counterweights to reduce vibration and deliver a usable torque band from 1,500 RPM. Power is sent through a 6-speed manual transmission with hydraulic clutch designed to smooth engagements at stops and starts. Electronics and infotainment. The Touring Series uses the Skyline OS in its boom box GTS, offering integrated navigation, Bluetooth connectivity, and Apple CarPlay/Android Auto on a TFT display up to 12.3, with fast processing and USB/Wi-Fi updates. May mechanical faults and recall campaigns. Voltage regulator harness short circuit. In July 2024, Harley-Davidson discovered the voltage regulator harness could rub against the front engine case, wearing its insulation and creating a ground short that blew the main 60A fuse, leaving riders without propulsion or electrics. At least 9 such incidents were reported in 2024, and the fix involved installing a secondary retaining strap and, if needed, replacing the worn harness with an extension kit. Front master cylinder seal failure. In October 2024, over 15,778 touring units were recalled for a defect in the front brake reservoir diaphragm, whose degraded components could swell the primary cup and block it, causing excessive lever travel and reduced initial brake force. Repairs included installing a new master cylinder body and an improved diaphragm at no cost. Bent brake lines contacting the fuel tank. Also in October 2024, a voluntary recall was conducted for front brake lines on certain touring and softail models after finding bent lines chafing the fuel tank, risking corrosion and fluid leaks. Dealers either replaced the lines or rerouted them to maintain clearance. Frontline crack risk on lowrider El Diablo and ST. From 2022 to 2024, lowrider El Diablo and lowrider ST models faced a recall for front brake lines prone to fracturing under vibration. About 15,778 bikes were affected. The repair kit included redesigned lines and reinforced mounting clamps installed free of charge. Brake line melting near the exhaust. In September 2023, at least 3 FLHXC units were found with front brake lines whose outer cover melted from exhaust proximity, prompting a recall to install high-temperature, resistant lines. Defective hydraulic clutch seal, 2014 to 2015 recall. In 2014 to 2015, 25,185 touring and 3,861 CVO trike bikes were recalled after the hydraulic clutch master cylinder cup seal could tear, leaving the clutch stuck and the bike advancing uncontrollably from a stop position. Repairs rebuilt the master cylinder with an improved seal kit, free to owners, along with proper bleeding and adjustment instructions. KTM RC 8 1190. The RC 8 1190 mounts a 1,195 cubic centimeters, 75 degrees V-twin, liquid-cooled DOHC with 4 valves per cylinder and 13.5 to 1 compression to extract every drop of power. It puts out 155 PS at 10,000 RPM and 121.6 Newton-meters at 8,000 RPM thanks to 48 millimeters throttle bodies and key and EF engine management. The 6-speed gearbox has a wet multi-plate clutch, and the R version adds a slipper clutch to prevent rear-wheel lift under hard downshifts. Its chrome moly trellis frame uses the engine as a stressed member for maximum rigidity and minimal weight. Up front sits a fully adjustable 43mm WP USD fork. Out back, a WP linkage shock balances bump absorption with track solidity. Braking for its 188 kilograms dry comes from twin 320mm front discs with Brembo 4-piston radial calipers and a 220mm rear disc. Tires are 120, 70, 17 front and 190, 55, 17 rear. The wheelbase is 1,425mm and the seat height is 805mm, balancing sharp handling with high-speed stability. Main faults: defective rod batch. Early 2008 models had a batch of connecting rods out of spec, causing abnormal noises and, in extreme cases, premature seizure. KTM replaced the affected rods under warranty. False neutrals and imprecise shifts. Many owners report false neutrals, especially between second and third gear, as forcing frequent lever and stop adjustments. The RC8 are partially addressed it with revised internal components. Valve failures from detonation. On RON 95 fuel, valves have detonated and broken, especially on 2010 models, due to the head's cooling limits. Affected users replaced lifters and cams, and higher octane fuel was recommended to prevent damage. Oil and coolant leaks. Early units suffered minor oil leaks at crankcase seals and head gaskets. Some saw coolant enter the crankcase from a failing water pump shaft. Proactive pump seal replacement fixed most cases. Labor-intensive maintenance. Basic services like oil changes can take over an hour per cylinder due to the design's complexity and plug locations driving up labor costs and workshop time. The KTM RC8 1190 shines for power and agility, but demands scrupulous compliance with service bulletins, high-octane fuel, timely seal and pump inspections, and drivetrain adjustments if false neutrals appear. With these precautions and professional maintenance, its superbike virtues can be enjoyed without unpleasant surprises. Yamaha FJR1300, models with YCCS electronic clutch. The 1,298 cubic centimeters block uses Mikuni EFI with 42mm throttle bodies for very linear low-end thrust and a lively in mid and high-range response. YCCS employs two ECU-controlled actuators. One modulates clutch engagement, the other shifts gears using real-time data on RPM, throttle position, and engine load to ensure smooth, rapid transitions. Press the shift button. The system drops the clutch, selects the gear, then re-engages automatically, no manual clutch needed. To manage the engine's brutal torque, Yamaha uses an aluminum twin-spar frame for torsional rigidity and lightness. A 48mm telescopic fork offers 137mm of travel. The rear linkage shock provides 122mm, both adjustable for load and riding style. Braking uses dual 320mm front discs with 4-piston calipers and a 283mm rear disc complemented by standard ABS. At an 805mm seat height, the FJR1300 offers an upright sport position ideal for long rides. Its 25-liter tank gives over 300 kilometers of range in mixed use, and the adjustable windshield protects at highway speeds. YCCS error codes SH37 and SH46. Several riders report SH37 errors, where the system fails to disengage the clutch when stopped, causing the bike to jerk or stall on restart. This usually indicates actuator misalignment or internal wear, which can be worsened by moisture or vibration. Complete clutch loss and unexpected lurches. Documented cases describe the bike restarting in gear without disengaging the clutch, leaving riders without engine braking control. These incidents require shutting off the engine to reset YCCS, increasing fall risk in traffic. Imprecise shifting and false neutrals. Though most praise its durable cams and gears, Some Reddit users describe false neutrals between second and third gears requiring constant stop and lever adjustments. In many cases, resetting the ECU by disconnecting/reconnecting the battery temporarily restores proper synchronization. Recall for second gear cracks. Yamaha recalled FJR1300s built 2015 to 2020 after finding second gear pinions could crack under high load and lock the rear wheel, affecting about 15,000 units, which were fitted with complete transmissions beginning January 13, 2021. Riders were advised not to use the bike until repaired. Selector fork wear. According to Bennett's, a small percentage of FJR1300s show premature wear on the selector forks, which move the shift dogs, causing sync issues and crunching on shifts. Inspect these during a pre-purchase shift test to avoid costly repairs. Intermittent YCCS warnings and lockups. Forums like YXC mention YCCS warnings and complete shift lockups mandating neutralization until the fault is cleared. A YouTube video shows moisture or prolonged vibration triggering system failures. BMW R1300 GS, production from May 2023 to January 2024, arrives as an evolution of the GS lineage with a new 1,300 cubic centimeters shift cam boxer engine, 145 horsepower at 7,750 RPM and 149 Newton meters of torque at 6,500 RPM. Mounted in a lighter chassis than its predecessor and equipped with semi-active Evo telelever/Evo parlever suspension and a full electronic assistance package. Despite its advanced engineering, numerous owners have suffered starter relay failures preventing ignition, moisture ingress into the right-hand switchgear, and false neutrals in the gearbox, as well as inconsistencies in the self-adjusting suspension, forcing BMW to launch several recall campaigns and users to take extreme care in operation. The R1300 GS is powered by a 1,300.6 cubic centimeters air and liquid-cooled twin-cylinder boxer, featuring DOHC and shift cam variable valve timing that optimizes torque at both low and high revs. It develops 145 horsepower, 107 kilowatts, at 7,750 RPM and 149 Newton meters at 6,500 RPM, an increase in power and torque over the R1250 GS. Yet it weighs just 237 kilograms wet thanks to a new load-bearing engine frame and the gearbox mounted beneath the engine. On the chassis side, it features Evo telelever up front and Evo parlever at the rear, both with electronic suspension adjustment and riding modes including Enduro, Rain, Road, and Dynamic, plus cornering ABS, DDC traction control, hill start assist, and dynamic cruise control. Starter relay failures due to moisture. Since July 2024, BMW has withdrawn nearly 25,000 R1300 GS units built between July 14, 2023 and March 18, 2024 because the semiconductor starter relay had mold defects allowing moisture ingress to corrode the contacts, causing no-start conditions or unintended engine cranking. Early symptoms included internal short circuits that carbonized the relay, rendering it unusable. After an initial service in November 2023, the persistent issue led to replacing the electronic relay with a more robust electromechanical relay provided free of charge through the official network. The problem worsens in humid environments or after intense off-road use, since the original relay lacked adequate sealing against water and mud. Moisture ingress in right-hand switchgear. In late 2024, BMW discovered that the right-hand control module, moisture to reach the PCB, causing intermittent instrument failures, ignition cutouts, and electronic error messages. This recall included installing improved seals and replacing the entire switch assembly, ensuring reliable controls in rain or dusty conditions. False neutrals and gear change difficulties. Several specialized forums and our 1300 GS owners have reported false neutrals when shifting from first to second gear, with notable frequency forcing adjustments to shift to tense and internal springs, or even stopping to re-engage the gear. This behavior is attributed to the new gearbox location beneath the engine and overly tight manufacturing tolerances in the shift drum, causing imprecise engagement that BMW is correcting through component and internal transmission software updates. Inconsistencies in EVO ESA semi-active suspension. During the first months of use, several riders noticed the EVO ESA system ghosting when determining ride height after each startup, spontaneously changing spring preload and altering steering geometry. This ghost effect was partly resolved with suspension control unit firmware updates, improving the auto-adjust logic and reducing height swings between stationary and in motion. Conclusion. The BMW R1300 GS combines a next-generation shift cam engine with a more compact chassis and top-tier comfort and safety technologies, but its launch has been marred by starter relay and switchgear moisture recalls, false neutrals in the gearbox, and initial semi-active suspension setup issues. To enjoy its virtues without surprises, make sure your unit is up to date on recall campaigns, software updates, and component replacements specified by BMW. With these precautions, the R1300 GS remains one of the most capable and advanced adventure bikes on the market. And there you have it, my friends, those 7 two-wheel beasts that mechanics say you'd best avoid if you don't want a broken heart and an empty wallet. At the end of the day, what matters is enjoying the roar under your feet without getting stranded halfway, right? Drop a comment if you've had any adventures or misadventures with any of these gems, or if there's another you think deserves to be on the list. If you like the video, don't forget to support us with a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next ride. See you out on the road.